Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition and alignment, and why alignment should remain in Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition. Alright, so I'm very excited about Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition. I believe that Dungeons & Dragons right now is in passive development. What I mean by that is I think there's a file at Wizards of the Coast. It might be maintained by Mike Merles, maybe it's maintained by Jeremy Crawford. But there's one or more files, and they're like, okay, when we go to 6th edition, we should have did this, we should have done that, we need to make this change, this comes out, this goes in, this gets preserved, blah, 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 right? So right now it's just a file of do's and don'ts, right? And basically Mike Merles, I really believe he's the absolute best creator to ever, he's the best designer, rules designer, games, he's the best member of the design team that the game has ever had, save Gary Gygax, without a doubt, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons for that, which I've talked about previously. So, but, if he's doing his due diligence, that file exists, and I think we all get, Mike Merles is doing his due diligence, that's one thing he's good at, right? So basically, I believe it's in passive development. There's going to be a point where it shifts into active development. Now, the reason I keep talking about Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition right now is right now we should be talking about what we as a community want for Dungeons & Dragons 6th Edition. Because right now, 5th edition is 4 years old, and this is the period where we're going to start to transition from that passive design to that active design, right? So let me talk about alignment. So one, I think alignment is going to be on the chopping block for consideration for 6th edition. I think there's going to be a discussion on whether alignment remains in the game. And actually, I think that's the correct discussion. That discussion needs to happen, and the reason why is alignment has been gotten rid of in virtually every single modern tabletop role-playing game, and virtually every single new tabletop role-playing game that comes out does not have alignment. So if your game's doing something that almost every single new game doesn't do, you should have that discussion, right? Now, I don't think that there's anybody on the current Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons design team, and I'll rattle them off. These are people who are definitely on. There's probably some in there as well that I'm missing, but Mike Merles, Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, I think Sean Reynolds is in there, Kate Welch, Satine Phoenix, I think she's marketing. I don't think she's actually on the design team, but she's in the mix, but that's generally who we're talking about, right? And so, that crew, they're gonna, so one, I don't think that Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition design crew will be the Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition design crew. At minimum, the lead designer will change, and I think one or two people are going to pop out, and some people are going to come in. And just so you're aware, there was an exit for a Dungeons & Dragons design team member just recently, very, very recently, right? So, that just happened. I think it was maybe like 3 months ago. I can't remember the person's name, which kind of makes sense on why they're no longer there. So basically, so you have those kind of things going, right? So I think none of those people really want to take alignment out, right? But they're going to have the discussion, and that's, again, that's just, if your game is doing something that no other new games are doing, you really should discuss on whether you want to keep doing that, right? And so I think that discussion, but I think there's about a 3% chance, as it stands now, that it'll get pulled out. When they pull one of the design team members and put a new person on the design team, or even two new people on the design team, right, any or all of them may say, alignment's got to go. And so this is me right now saying, this is why alignment should stay in Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. So I have four specific reasons why Dungeons & Dragons should stay, why alignment should stay in Dungeons & Dragons 6th edition. And I'm going to use a mnemonic to help me remember all of them. So I'm thinking of a kit, a little baby fox, made of fungi, and that fungi kit is standing on an anvil. All right? Okay, so let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about the kit first, right? So you got a baby fox, right? Well, Dungeons & Dragons is played by a lot of people, right? It's played by people like me, who, I was born in 1970, right? But on the book, it says 12 and up, You know, this is for 12 and up, right? So you can have a 12-year-old, you know, who's 12 today, and, you know, and she could say, you know what, I'm not going to play field hockey this year. I'm going to play Dungeons & Dragons, right? And when that happens, to me, that is one of the absolute reasons why alignment should stay in the game, right? And the reason why is those 12-year-olds should get the same experience that we got when we came up, right? And that is, you know, like, oh, look at this, man. Look at this cool cover. There's a dragon on the cover of this. There's a dude with a sword on the cover of this. That's pretty cool, right? You know, and then, so you read it because the cover draws you in, or you saw somebody else playing and you saw the miniatures and you're like, this is exciting. And there's monsters and there's heroes and there's dungeons and there's magic items, right? But then when you actually sit down and you start reading that book, right? In the middle of it, boom, there's alignment, right? And you're like, wait, I can choose if my character is going to be evil or good, right? And then they're saying, well, no, you really can't choose to be evil, but you can choose to be neutral, and you can choose to be good. But guess what? That's not all there is to morality. Morality has multiple dimensions, right? And, you know, you could be lawful, you could be neutral, or you could be chaotic, right? So there's actually, you know, 9 different alignments, right? And that's deep, right? Right in the middle of this book that you thought was going to be about swords and monsters, you got a big old pile of philosophy and theology and thoughts about morality. Like, this is deep, deep stuff. I mean, this is Mariana's Trench deep, right? And that is incredibly inviting, you know, to a 12-year-old to say, I need to think about the way I look at the world and how my actions have consequences, and that I can choose my morality, you know, and I'm like, that is incredibly deep. And I think it should remain there for that reason. Because it was 1982 when I had that first thought, and I think in 2018 kids should be able to have that thought today, and it's really cool. All right, so that's the kit, right? Let's talk about the fun guy. So the fun, it's really fun, right? So, like, I had a character who got alignment shifted. I was lawful good. And my game master actually said, you know, you haven't been playing lawful good, and I'm alignment shifting you to lawful to neutral good, right? And if you continue to do the actions you're going to do, you're going to get alignment shifted again over to chaotic neutral, or I might shift you down to pure neutral, right? And he was saying to me, hey, you know, you need to play more like a hero, right? And I thought that was really cool. It was fun, right? The other thing is, it's really awesome when you go into a king's court and you cast Detect Evil, and you're like, oh, that merchant over there is evil. You know, like, it's just fun. It's really, really fun, right? So, yeah, you have that aspect of it. The next aspect of it is a fun guy, right? Gary Gygax. The other reason is Gary Gygax put alignment into the game, and he did it for a reason, right? And so whenever there's anything that Gary Gygax put into the game, you have to say, do I preserve this? Do I abandon this? Do I change this, right? And you need to approach that with incredible caution. And the reason why is, this is the game's progenitor, right? He created the game. He's the game's creator. He did it with intent. Everybody who has a pure love for the game has respect for what Gygax accomplished. And no one is going to be reckless with what he put into the game, because every single addition matters and is important and is a part of Americana and part of, like, and then also realizing, you know, we need new additions, right? People are like, the game doesn't need to change, and I really understand now why new additions are needed. We change as a culture, we change as a people, technology changes, and all these things shine on the game, and we need an addition for now, right? You know, and so you know, now I think that the next edition should come 2 to 4 years from now, right? Not immediately, but, you know, and that's going to give us 6 to 8 years of time with 5th edition. I truly believe 5th edition will absolutely not last longer than 8 years. And the reason why is, I think just modern society does not allow editions to last as long as they used to, right? So So another reason why alignment should remain in the game is Gary Gygax. All right, the last reason is the anvil, right? And that is the weight of alignment, all right? So alignment has weight, right? What do I mean by that? So one, there is no question that new tabletop role-playing games avoid alignment like the plague, right? The only question is, for every single new tabletop role-playing game that comes out, are there 20 or 50 or 100 new games that do not have... For every one new tabletop role-playing game that comes out that has alignment in it, are there 20 or 50 or 100 games that don't, right? Like, that's the only question, right? Alignment has been abandoned by virtually every single tabletop role-playing game, new tabletop role-playing game that comes to the market. Very, very... It's hard for me to think of one that still has it in it, right? Certainly all the games that I've been really excited about, Cypher and Tiny Dungeon 2E and Blades in the Dark and, Index Card RPG and just tons and tons and tons of new awesome Maze Rats and really cool games. These games do not, Black Hack, these games do not have alignment. It's not in there, right? It's been jettisoned. It's been exiled, right? And the reason why is every other game in the world needs to explain, every other tabletop role-playing game in the world, when they come to alignment, they need to explain why alignment is in their game, because modern society doesn't really think that people fall into these alignments. Like, they think, oh, morality is just kind of a side issue. It's really not thought of in modern society much, right? And so every other tabletop role-playing game is like, I'm not going to interrupt the flow of my game to explain why alignment is here and what it means to be a lawful good fighter, and what it means to be a neutral, and what it means to be a lawful neutral druid, right? Or whatever the lacing is, right, for class, and and even getting into there are how alignment maps to your race choice and all these different kinds of things, right? It's complicated. It has considerable weight, and more game designers are like, I'm just writing some rules here and some monsters. I'm not Gary Gygax. I can't talk about philosophy and morality and theology all in the same game, right? I can't do it, right? And I totally agree with most people are not Gary Gygax. They can't carry that much. They can't carry that much weight. That's the point. Like, game designers today really can't carry the weight that Gary routinely carried, right? That's the reality of it, right? But Dungeons & Dragons is the only game in the world where you would have to explain why alignment is not there, right? So D&D is so unique and so special, right? And it's so much a part of American society and American culture, and that it's the only tabletop role-playing game in the world where you would need to explain why alignment is not in the game. It's the flip of every other tabletop role-playing game. So every tabletop role-playing game is like, you got to explain why alignment is in your game, but with Dungeons & Dragons, you would have to explain why it's gone, right? And so that's the thing, is Dungeons & Dragons is the only remaining game, in my opinion, that can carry the weight of alignment, right? And who's it being carried for? It's being carried for the kids, right? Like, it's being carried for the 12-year-old who's never really thought about good and evil, and certainly never thought about lawful good and lawful evil and pure neutral and lawful neutral and chaotic neutral. They've never really thought about alignment in these ways, right? And it's really unique, and it's special, and it makes you think in a way that the world does not really normally challenge you to think, and it's just a pure wonderful thing. And it absolutely belongs in Dungeons & Dragons, right? Because Dungeons & Dragons is the only tabletop role-playing game that can carry the weight of alignment. What's really interesting is Not only can it carry the weight of alignment, it does it extremely well. Like, there are no problem. It has more than enough, sturdiness to completely carry that weight, and much, much more. That's another thing. It's like the game, Dungeons and Dragons is so strong compared to every other tabletop role-playing game because of its history, because of its original creation, that it can do things that no other tabletop role-playing game can do, even without discussion, right? Like, there does not need to be discussion for why alignment will be in 6D. There's going to need to be discussion on why alignment is taken out if it is taken out. There's going to need to be an explanation for that, right? Whereas every other game in the world, it's the exact opposite. So those are my 4 reasons why alignment should absolutely be in 6th edition. And I'm really hoping that, that the new design team sees it that way. Take care.